Welcome, Dr. Epic here. And in this lecture, we're going to learn about a killer named Jigsaw. We're going to learn about Maya tombs, the glories of ancient Troy, a bitter fight within linguistics, and the creation of reality itself. We're going to follow that outline right up above my head as we study anthropology's four-field approach, the methodology advocated by the grand old man himself, Franz Boas. And he supported the four-field approach in order to answer this question. And this is the great quest of anthropology. Why are the tribes and nations of the world different? And how have the present differences developed? It's a question that Franz Boas tried to answer, and it's a question that we continue to answer today. And the way we're going to do this, the way we're supposed to do this, is by following the four-field approach, following anthropology's four distinct subfields: physical anthropology, archaeology, linguistics, and cultural anthropology. And we're going to do them in that order. Now, physical anthropology is the study of the structure and development of the human physical form. Now, this focuses principally on the evolution of the human form, as well as its biomechanics, its life cycle, how and when death occurs, and often what happens to the human form after death. And primarily, in this course, that's going to take a twin focus. One, the evolution and biomechanics of the human form, specifically on the state of the human race from 250,000 BC to the present. And this includes the radiation and contraction of species, and specifically the different types of human beings that once walked this earth. We didn't used to have just one species of humans. At one point in time, it seems that we might have had four. The second thing we'll do within physical anthropology is study the application and study of forensic anthropology, the use of physical anthropology in identifying crime victims and in solving criminal cases. And this is the part where the class gets a little ooky. So I want to give you a little warning. We are going to be looking and discussing about human remains in advanced states of decomp. We're going to look at the violence that is done to the human body. We're going to look at what happens when very bad people do very bad things. So consider yourself warned. And one of the cases that we'll actually discuss is the Jigsaw murders of 1935. And there's poor Isabella Ruxton, the victim of a killer known as Jigsaw. 1935. And as part of this is the one textbook we'll use, William Maple's classic Dead Men Do Tell Tales, a study of a forensic anthropologist working in the craziest place for death and murder and mayhem, a mysterious violence-racked place called Florida. Next, we turn to archaeology. And now archaeology is the methodical study of the human past through the medium of the archaeological record. As such, it focuses on the long human occupation of the planet, from small groups of hunter-gatherers at the dawn of humanity 100,000 years ago, up to and including the present. This includes the long period spent as hunter-gatherers, the development of agriculture, the rise of great civilizations, the fall of great civilizations, and the historical events of the recent past, up to and including the archaeology of American history. Now, archaeology is considered to be both anthropology and history, the two generally kind of melding together in a kind of social history. But archaeology should be considered more than just a methodology. It's a way of looking at the past, more than a discrete discipline in its own right. And it combines the history and the archaeology together. For instance, there's Stela 35 from the Maya city of El Peruhuaca, and depicted on that stela is the great monarch of the city, Lady Ka-Bel, the snake queen of the city, the granddaughter of the Emperor Yuknom-Chen the Great, probably. Anyway, there's a monument to her power. She's holding a staff, she's holding a shield, she's got a magic dwarf. How many queens have magic dwarfs? Lady Ka-Bel had a magic dwarf. At any rate, the archaeology and the history came together when Professors Navarro Farah and Perez Robles discovered the tomb of Lady Ka-Bel and all of the art dedicated to the funeral of this great ancient Native American queen. So the archaeology supported the history that is known from the site. But no word on the magic dwarf, though. Didn't find the magic dwarf. Also, there is a considerable overlap between archaeology and physical anthropology, as human remains are often encountered in the archaeological record. In fact, forensic archaeology, is the excavation of crime scenes. It's something I've done, and it's something I tend to do all the time. I find a lot of bodies when I excavate. Here I am in the tomb I found, burial 38 at El Peruaca, a younger, slimmer, fitter, better looking version of me, documenting this one tomb that we found like way back, more than 10 years ago. And here is my excavation crew. This is, I think, from 2016. My excavation crew at this Native American Maya city. And this is what I do most of the time. I am an archaeologist. I just also happen to dig up a lot of dead people. I've gotten pretty good at it. And this is what I've been researching on. For about the past 15, 16 years, I've worked at the ancient Maya city of El Peruaca. And this is what I've published on quite extensively. Me and my colleagues, Perez Robles, Navarro Farr, Damian Markin, we've all been cooperating together as we uncover the social history and anthropology of this great Native American jungle city. And I do often take students down there. I've been known to educate and teach classes on ceramics, to teach classes on laboratory methods. And one of the best things about teaching in Guatemala is we get to firsthand handle the remains of the ancient past. Those aren't replicas they're touching. Those are actual 1,000-year-old Maya artifacts that they're counting and weighing and studying and learning all about. Students from Bloomberg University, Tulane University, Universidad de Valle. We have a multi-institutional archaeological project in Guatemala. And one of the things we're going to do in this class in terms of archaeology is look at weird and fantastic stuff. Frauds, myths, and mysteries. We're going to look at aliens. We're going to look at Bigfoot. We're going to look at the Cardiff Giant. We're going to look at how fantastic ideas can be tested against the archaeological record, and things that are fantastic stories, aliens, giants, and how we can see if these actually happened in the ancient record. And the crazy thing is sometimes some of these crazy stories about the past, sometimes they end up being true. And we're going to develop our critical thinking skills about the past and then apply them to a great archaeological mystery. The city of Troy. Was there a city of Troy? Was the Iliad describing real events? Or is it all myth and mystery and hokum and made up things? We're going to look at the archaeological record of the Trojan War. And then we move to linguistics, our third of the four-field approach. Now, linguistics is the study of the structure and variation of human language and language systems. It focuses on the morphology and structure of language, how language is formed and developed, how the human brain structures speech, or maybe how speech structures the human brain. Now, this includes recording and preserving of the vast number of languages that are currently on the brink of extinction. In fact, there's a race going on right now to save these last languages. The world loses something when one of these languages falls silent. It's very sad. Now, specifically in terms of linguistics, we're going to focus on two things. One, the structure of language, how it changes and how its history and how its historical development goes through time. Modern English to Middle English to Medieval English to Old English. And secondly, we're going to focus on a very, very nasty debate within linguistics itself. The debate over Noam Chomsky's structures of generative grammar, which is also called universal grammar. Now, of the four subfields of anthropology, linguistics is the most independent subfield. These guys really know their field. They really know what's going on. And in fact, in many universities, linguistics has sometimes branched off and become its own discrete field. Generally, linguistics, as a separate discipline, is more concerned with structure and morphology of language, as well as language acquisition. Linguistics within anthropology, as a subfield of anthropology, focuses on cultural aspects of language use and how symbols and signs are grouped and incorporated within language usage. This is called semiotics. And there's an excellent film about saving dead languages called The Linguists. This is also linked to the study of literature and the arts through the use of something called discourse analysis, or how actors, and this includes writers, use language and manipulate structure and word choice to influence their audience. And lastly, linguistics gets linked to neuroscience through the study of what happens electrochemically within the brain during language acquisition and during communications. This is a really interesting field called neurolinguistics. But we're really going to talk about nasty academics making fun of each other. And in terms of linguistics, we are going to use this text right here. Daniel Everett's Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes, Life and Language in the Amazonian Jungle. Because Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes posed a major challenge to the current paradigm within linguistics, something called universal grammar. And here we have two very distinguished professors. They're leaders in their field. Both of them are incredibly intelligent. In terms of linguistics, they're both incredibly cunning, and they debate like drunken brawlers at 3 a.m. It's absolutely wonderful to read about. The fourth field we'll address is cultural anthropology, or sociocultural anthropology, which is, of course, the study of human culture. Now, this involves going directly into the field to engage with, understand, and explain various human behaviors. Now, traditional anthropology focuses on non-Western peoples, the peoples of Polynesia, Native America, various African and Asian populations. Now, this is no longer strictly true, and a lot of anthropologists are quite content to write and study about the culture and cultural structures of American culture and of European culture. And as such, cultural anthropology is often related to its kissing cousin of sociology. But while sociology almost focuses exclusively on our society, anthropology concerns itself with a much broader view of human culture and human society. And in terms of this class, specifically, we're going to look at how culture is used to create reality. And again, humans impose subjective meanings on an objective reality. And this includes not only a scientific study of human organization, but a more interpretive approach to interpreting how reality is collectively and subjectively crafted through the use of culture. Humans inhabit and construct a subjective reality, because humans do not actually perceive the world as it exists. They react to the world as they subjectively perceive it to be. For instance, look at that drawing right up above my head. Objectively, what is that? Objectively, it's lines on paper. It's lines on paper. But we see this and we translate this in our brain. And it's also an optical illusion, because you can look at this and people of, say, one society or one culture can look at what is objectively lines on paper and they see a rabbit. But another group of people are going to look at these lines on paper and they're going to see a duck. And you can actually teach your brain to flip between the two images. Duck, rabbit. Duck, rabbit. Try it. Do you see the rabbit? Now shake your head a little bit, blink a couple times, and see the duck. This is how two different cultures can view objectively the same thing, and yet both interpret completely different responses. Duck, rabbit, duck, rabbit. And this is just an optical illusion. Now expand this to the complexities of, hundreds of thousands of people variously interpreting different symbols and signs in their own subjective way. And this is how humans impose subjective meanings on an objective reality. And they collectively construct reality. And we are going to look at an extended case study on how reality is constructed among the Native Americans of Guatemala, specifically the modern Maya people and their gods and their saints and the spirits in the mountains and Mashimon and the daughters of God El, and an imagined landscape where the past is always present and the future has already happened. But that's much, much later down the road. But right now, you should have a really good idea of anthropology's four-field approach. That's what Franz Boas said to do, and I'm sticking to it. And we're going to start this with physical anthropology in the next chapter, and I will see you there.